Download the free Gun Dealio app to your smartphone. Find out about the latest deals and news on guns and gear. Includes the latest Gun Talk podcast and Gun Talk videos. That's Gun Dealio on the App Store and Google Play.
#1 national voice in defense of your Second Amendment rights. Gun Talk, available on iTunes and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for Android and iPhone. To be on the air with Tom, call us now, 866-825-5486 or 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom.
Here we talk about self-defense gun uses. Does it happen very often? People say, well, I just never hear of it. Well, if you pay attention to it, you'll hear about it. It happens all the time. Here's one. Let's see, North Carolina. Lenore County deputies say a man acted in self-defense in shooting a neighbor who attacked him with a knife. Tripp, the guy who ended up shooting the neighbor, so Tripp was checking on his dog pens on his property when Holland, his neighbor, jumped the ditch and attacked him with a knife. Relatives say Tripp received a 15 to 18-inch slash on his side and had 33 staples at the hospital to close the wound. Major Ryan Dawson said Tripp tried to defend himself and first fired a shot at the ground with his gun. After Holland attacked him again, Dawson said the victim fired a second shot, hitting Holland in the upper torso. Dawson said Holland, the attacker, ran back to his property while the victim and witnesses described the man as being mentally unstable and armed. You heard me say this before, and I mean this, and I mean it in a way that I hope you will take in. Because people keep saying, well, I never imagined that here. We live in a safe area. I don't really lock my doors here. We just had a guy call in. He had a guy rip open his car door, his truck door, while he's sitting in his truck in his driveway. The guy sticks a .45 up against the side of his head. They end up getting into a shooting battle, and then the other guys in the other car, in the carjacker's car, they're shooting at him. And I'm thinking, why didn't he have the door locked? Well, I was in my driveway. Yeah, I know. When I get in the car, I lock the door. Period. Stuff happens. Crazy is everywhere. Evil is everywhere. It walks in the door when you least expect it. And you got to be ready. You got to get training. You got to do all the things you got to do. And there's another part to that. It's kind of, all right, now that's happened. Oh, my God, this just happened. What do I do now? Well, that's part of what you learn from our next guest, Marty Hayes, with the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. Hello, Marty.
Hello, Tom. It's good to be back on your show.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. You just heard me talk about that. With your background in law enforcement and all, you know the drill. Of course, you've trained a zillion people at the Firearms Academy of Seattle. You probably get reports back from people you trained who, unfortunately, have had to use that training.
Oh, yeah. The good news is not that many of our students end up getting in fights, and I think that's a good testament. I'd rather avoid them than have them get involved in shootings.
Don't you find that the more training, or serious self-defense training you get, the less likely you are to need it because you really will work extra hard to avoid it?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is that the person who has a good skill level, whether that's through training or perhaps law enforcement experience or military experience, they hold themselves differently out in public. They look confident. Their heads are up. They're not looking at their stupid iPhone, and they don't look like victims, and so they're passed up.
They don't look like an easy mark because they're not an easy mark, and it's one of those deals that you benefit on a number of levels, some of which you may not have even thought of, is you may end up not needing the training because you got the training. It's weird.
Exactly.
All right, so our Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, and we've talked about this before, this is kind of what happens if you end up having to use your firearm or you get into a self-defense situation. It's kind of like, okay, holy cow, now what, right? I mean, that's really, when I think about it, I think of the network as being the now what do I do deal. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so, even though we do help train the individual to prepare for that. The majority of the cases, though, that we've seen, the people don't have the attorney walking around in their back pocket, and so they're sitting there and they need some help right now, and that's where we spring into action and get them legal help and help pay for that.
I mean, basically, you belong to the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, and just so people know, I joined up years ago, paid my own money, signed up, got my wife signed up because I believe in it. It's the real deal. You got the right people involved, and you guys spring into action. This is legal defense. People say, well, I got a good lawyer at home. Yeah, maybe, right?
Right, and the fact is that's great if all you do is stay at home.
Good point. And even then, your lawyer may be good at wills or business things, but know nothing about this and may need some help.
Right, and we're going to help them out pretty much whatever way we can. We may end up helping your attorney,
exactly.
Or we may end up helping you find a good criminal defense, self-defense attorney to handle your case, or you may not have to put on a case. You just need some initial representation up front so the prosecutor knows that, hey, they don't have a pushover here, that this guy's lawyered up and the lawyer's asking the right questions, and maybe we should take another look at this and make another decision. Maybe we shouldn't prosecute.
Let me elaborate on that for a second. What you're saying without saying it, because I know you know this, there are prosecutors out there who will prosecute somebody who is involved in a self-defense situation and say, well, maybe we can get them on a manslaughter charge. Maybe we can get them on this. Maybe we get them on that. But if they look at it and say, well, wait, this was a good shoot, and he's got legal defense, and he's got money behind him to push it, we're not going to do that. I mean, and there are prosecutors who don't like the fact that some people use guns to defend themselves. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think that if you're looking into an urban area, it would be very rare to find a good self-defense-oriented prosecutor. Most of the time, the larger urban areas lean towards the left, the anti-gun position.
Yeah.
And so they get kudos from all of their leftist anti-gun friends when they prosecute someone who shot somebody else, whether it was justified or not.
Yeah, the website is armedcitizensnetwork.org, by the way. What do you tell people, like the first thing or first three things you should have in your mind? And the thing is, you got to think about this a lot before you get into it, because you're going to be so overwhelmed with emotions and everything else if you get into a self-defense situation. But what are the first 2-3 things that people need to be aware of to do or not do?
It really kind of breaks down into two areas. One, is it a home defense or is it out in public?
Okay.
So can you clarify that for me, Tom?
Well, pick one just so we get an idea. Say it's out in public, you get attacked, and you have to shoot somebody. Just simple as that. Well,
it's going to be a mess, because assuming that there are other people around, maybe the attacker or the attackers had friends, there might be video evidence. It's going to be a mess, and what you need to do is to make sure that you win the race to the phone, that you make sure that the police list you as the complainant and the victim, not the suspect and or the criminal.
And it is a race because, basically there are two roles to be played here. You got the victim and you got the perpetrator, and generally speaking, the first one who gets a call in gets to be the victim.
Exactly, yeah. You call up and say, I was just attacked out in front of the local 7-Eleven. The guy tried to kill me, tried to rob me. I need police here right now, and send an ambulance.
Right, and that's it. And you can also, first of all, don't leave the scene. Flight equals guilt in the eyes of the law, or at least of juries. Stay there. These are the kind of things you ought to get if you're getting any kind of good firearms training, like you do at the Firearms Academy of Seattle and all the other good schools, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much standard now that the top schools also give some advice as far as what to do afterwards, and that's good,
But one of the things, toward that end, one of the things that you guys have been doing at the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network is you actually have training about that. You get, you do videos, you have DVDs, you have newsletters, you have information. The people in the network get this information so they can stay on top of or be reminded of what happens and what they should be doing.
Yeah, both stay on top of, learn new stuff, be reminded of it if they watch it once in a while. Mm-hmm. But also, our educational package goes towards perhaps helping the person defend their actions in court.
How so?
The jury gets to view the evidence through the eyes of the defendant. Okay. I don't know of a jurisdiction in this country that doesn't allow that, which means that if the defendant says, listen, I saw this videotape that talked about ability, opportunity, and jeopardy, and I assessed that ability, opportunity, and jeopardy were present, and so that's why I decided to use my firearm. Then if you have a sympathetic judge, they might possibly allow the 45-minute video into court, letting the jury see exactly what the defendant knew when the defendant decided to pull the trigger.
Great. It's fabulous. Well, it's called the Armed Citizens Network, Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. The website is armedcitizensnetwork.org. Marty, you guys have been doing good work. I know that you helped a lot of people. We're not going to go into the details on that, but I just appreciate everything you do. And like I say, as soon as you started it up, you know me, man, I wrote a check right off the bat. I can't give you a higher endorsement than that, spending my own money for me and my wife.
Yeah, we did a little happy dance here at the office when your check came in.
Well, I did a happy dance when I got my membership card, so that works out just fine. Look, good luck to you guys. Thank you for what you do. This is serious stuff, and you've helped a lot of people. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Tom, and tell your listeners to come see us at the NRA annual meeting.
Oh, cool. You'll be at the NRA annual meetings. Good deal. I will. Stop by and see Marty and Gila and the guys there. Appreciate that. All right, 866-TALK-GUN, or just call me at Tom Talk Gun. Be right back.
It's the next generation target pistol, the SW22 Victory from Smith & Wesson. Stainless steel frame, interchangeable match barrel, thumb safety, fiber optic sights, and a Picatinny rail. The SW22 Victory is ready for anything, targets or small game. Also available with a threaded barrel or cryptic camo finish. And it's backed by the Smith & Wesson Lifetime Service Policy. Learn more about the SW22 Victory at smith-wesson.com.
Before computers, before engines and automobiles and roads, before all of this, there was the land. A great ocean of land, with mountains black as night, standing guard over all that is and was and forever will be. This is the Black Hills of South Dakota, the place that made the people who make the best ammo on Earth.
Visit black-hills.com for more information.
If you're like me, you don't have money to burn, but you still want to buy guns, ammo, and accessories. That's why we created Gun Dealio. That's a free, yes, a free smartphone app. Just download it and start getting the deals. Could be discounts, offers of free magazines for your gun, or you could be the first to hear about new stuff from gun makers. Here's how it works. With Gun Dealio on your phone, you get alerts when you enter a gun store. Special deals, you know. You don't have to do a thing. It'll do a lot of other cool things, like let you watch gun videos and listen to Gun Talk podcast. Plus, check it anytime for hundreds of deals and offers. Getting more while spending less. Smart, huh? Gun Dealio. Made in America. Gluten-free. At the App Store and Google Play or GunDealio.com.
Tactical professionals who put their lives on the line every day depend on Surefire. Since 1979, Surefire has designed, machined, and assembled the finest flashlights and weapon-mounted lights right here in the U.S. From everyday carry flashlights with 1,200 lumens and mil-spec hard anodized finishes to the most reliable weapon lights on the market for duty use or your home defense firearm, Surefire has what you need. American-built, American-strong. Visit Surefire.com.
All right, back with you. You know, we do like to give away stuff around here, so we have a couple of giveaways going right now. By the way, oh yeah, we have our new T-shirts. Have you checked them out? I love the double stack and the single stack on the T-shirt. It's one of those, it's better if you look at it rather than have me try to explain it to you. Just go to shopguntalk.com. Shopguntalk.com. We have a Gun Talk giveaway going on with Crimson Trace. We're going to give away, let's see, what are we giving away? A Railmaster Pro Green Laser Tactical Light and one Crimson Trace Tactical Light. Whole bunch of stuff, whole big package. All you got to do is go to guntalk.com/win. That's going to end on May 4th. Guntalk.com/win. And then if you also go over to thegreatgungiveaway.com. This is cool. Thegreatgungiveaway.com. It's huge. We're giving away, you can't believe it, 3 prizes, $23,000 in prizes. When you see it, it's breathtaking. Thegreatgungiveaway.com. All right, straight to the phones. Line 1, Roger, is in Williams, Arizona. Roger, 18-year-olds buying guns. What do you think?
If 18-year-olds are so irresponsible they shouldn't own a gun, why do we allow them to vote?
Well, you see,
that would be a great TV ad.
The Democrats want them to vote so that they can vote for Democrats, but they don't want them to have guns, so they have no problem being conflicted. They're actually not conflicted about it. They have no problem being hypocritical about the whole thing. So
that would make a great NRA spot.
Yeah, they probably are working on it at this point. Also, of course, if you're 18, you can serve in the military. Right. You can drive a tank. You know, you can go into training to fly jet fighters and bombers. But you can't buy a firearm. It's nuts. I appreciate it, Roger. Thank you, sir. Ron's on 2 out of Seabrook, Texas. Hey, Ron, Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah, so I think that Dick's stance with the what they're calling assault weapons is not so much about their virtue as it is their bottom line. I think they're announcing that they're destroying the guns to make it sound like they're virtuous, but by destroying all the guns and the accessories, then they can use that as a tax write-off because it's a loss, whereas if they just return them, then they just have to suffer the consequences of their decisions, and it looks like that their losses in their sales is their fault. But if they can write it off with
if they return them to the manufacturer, they get their money back. So they can. It's probably a wash. In fact, it may even be better for them to get their money back as opposed to taking a tax loss on it. They just are choosing to do this as a way of signaling we are more pure. You know, we're special. We're with you. I don't know if they're thinking soccer moms. I don't know what they're thinking, but and for those who don't know, we just announced that Dick's Sporting Goods announced that rather than return the AR-15s, because they announced they're not going to sell modern rifles anymore, but they could just return them to the manufacturers, the companies that make them. Rather than do that, they've announced that they're going to destroy them. There's no reason to do that other than to make a statement to say, look at us, we are so pure, we are so golden, you know. So, oh, Lord. Let's see. Bob is in Tulsa, Oklahoma on line 3. Bob, you're on Gun Talk.
Hi, Tom. Yes, the drive-by media is at it again here. 3 years ago, we had a bill in the House that's called Constitutional Open Carry Bill. And on the radio, half hour, on the hour, every hour, and also newspapers and TVs, all the channels, it said constitutional open carry had to pass the House. Well, 30 days later, when it died in the Senate, there was absolutely no news stories. In my classes, which I teach, usually 10, 15, 20 people drop down to 2 or 3, and sometimes none, because a lot of people were under the misperception that it had become law.
Well, that's dangerous for them.
It is. It's incredibly dangerous. I see people walking around, say, Walmart or, one of those stores open carrying. I ask them, hey, who was your instructor? And they said, I don't need one. We have constitutional open carry. I said, I'm sorry, I'm an instructor, and we do not. And then I educate them one-on-one, but one-on-one is really slow. So I'm hoping some Oklahoma people will be listening. That bill is back, and it's passed the House. It has not passed the Senate. It certainly hasn't gone to the governor for a signature. And even if it gets signed in, let's say, June 1st, it doesn't go into effect here in Oklahoma until 1 November.
Okay, so what is the status right now? If you want to carry either openly or concealed in Oklahoma, what's required?
You have to have a license, meaning you have to go through the state mandated class. It's an 8-hour class. I'm one of about 350 instructors that teach that class here in Oklahoma. And then there's a background check they have to go through. OSBI does that. And, once OSBI approves them, they get their license in the mail.
And that's for open carry as well?
We have licensed open carry here in Oklahoma. We've had a licensed open carry for about 4 or 5 years here in Oklahoma.
Okay. Good information, Bob, and I appreciate you passing it along. For those in Oklahoma, pay attention. You do not have constitutional carry no matter what they're saying, and don't get out there and get yourself in trouble. Thank you, sir. Let's see. Vance is in Reno on one. Vance, give me this report on the rally.
Well, sad to say that maybe 150 people max.
This is where?
But down in Carson City.
Okay.
So, but we did get a lot of people go by, honking, thumbs up, all that other good stuff. But we would have loved to have had more people attend.
Well, most people didn't know about it.
Also, some people that are running for office, like Sharon Angle and Gary, oh, darn it, I had his card here. But anyways, they showed up, and then a young lady from Colo 8, Channel 8 here in Reno, showed up and did a few interviews, and they showed us in a favorable light for a change.
Well, that's great. You got to show up. I mean, it's important. But my concern with this whole nationwide rally deal was that it was poorly put together, poorly promoted. People didn't know. I didn't know about it until last week, a week before it was going to happen. And if I didn't know about it, I guarantee you there were millions of people who didn't know about it. I'm glad you were there. I'm glad there were folks there. But, man, we got to get better at this. We're so far behind. We are in serious danger of losing a lot of our rights in the next 12 to 24 months. I can see in 24 months we turn around and go, I never saw that coming. I would not have believed that would have happened. I didn't realize that they were that far ahead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because they are. They just are. And if we don't show up, then we're going to lose. Simple as that. If you're not showing up at the legislature, if you're not emailing, if you're not calling, you're part of the problem. You got to be part of the solution. It really is as simple as that. 866-TALK-GUN. This is Gun Talk.
Sign up for our Gun Talk newsletter and join the Truth Squad at www.guntalk.com. Now, back to Gun Talk with Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
All right, back with the 866-TALK-GUN, or just use Tom Talk Gun. That's the easier way. If you have an account with Bank of America, if you have a credit card with Bank of America, listen up. Bank of America has announced it plans to stop lending money to companies that make modern rifles. Quote, it's our intention not to finance these military-style firearms for civilian use. Ann Funekane, a vice president at Bank of America, said Tuesday in a Bloomberg television interview. So Bank of America will not loan money to, will not do financing for companies that make modern rifles. More virtue signaling, perhaps. But at the same time, while they have a number of other problems, Wells Fargo is saying, we're not going to do that. The American Federation of Teachers has threatened to pull its business from Wells Fargo unless it severs ties with the National Rifle Association and gun makers. But so far, the bank is resisting. Quote, this is from the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, President Randy Weingarten. She says, we're issuing Wells Fargo an ultimatum. They can have a mortgage market that includes America's teachers, or they can continue to do business with the NRA and gun makers. They can't do both. Really? I think there probably are a lot of teachers listening and families of teachers listening right now who might want to let Wells Fargo know, hey, I'm good with it, man. You guys are okay. So the CEO of Wells Fargo, check this out. Tim Wells says, as I have publicly stated, I do not believe that the American public, wants banks to decide which legal products consumers can and cannot buy. So far, Wells Fargo is saying, no, teachers union, no, you're not going to blackmail us. We're not going to do that. Of course, that only will go so far as, until they get enough pressure. So they have to get support from us. So if you are a Wells Fargo customer, let them know. If you think about, look, I understand Wells Fargo has had lots of other problems. But in this case, and look, it is my personal opinion. I'm just going to say that out loud so people get it. My personal opinion, the Bank of America is a trash outfit. And I have, for many, many years, avoided using them for many, many reasons. This just solidifies my opinion and my decisions on that. Bank of America, no. No. This is an interesting take on things. Line 4, Al is in Shreveport, Louisiana. Al, talking about Dick's Sporting Goods destroying modern rifles. You have an interesting take.
Yes, sir. I'm just your average American customer who is a gun enthusiast, not quite to your level, but I don't understand why they don't just donate these guns, ARs, to law enforcement. That would help level the playing field for them, and it would still give them a tax write-off. Okay, that is a fascinating idea. Rather than destroy the AR-15s, there are a lot of police departments who have limited budgets, particularly smaller departments, who could really use patrol rifles. And if Dick's wanted to say, we're not going to sell them to citizens, because police are civilians too, citizens, they could they could donate them to law enforcement, but they're not going to do that because they basically think the world is better off having fewer of these modern rifles in it, and so they're going to destroy them. Yeah, that's a good point. And if they did do that, they would also be admitting that ARs do have a legitimate purpose. That's a good point. Al, thank you, sir. That's an interesting take on it. I had not thought about that. Warren's on 3 out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. Doctors, talk to me about doctors, Warren.
Yes, sir. I think most, if not all, of these school shooters and a lot of the other mass shooters, we find out that they've been under doctors' cares, and the doctor said they're got mental problems and everything else. But the people that do the background checks said, well, it's never been reported to us. Is there anything being done about that?
There's talk about changing the regs. You got HIPAA laws involved. And the problem is, well, right now what we have is, in order to be reported on the next check, the background check, you have to have been adjudicated in a court of law to have been mentally incompetent. Well, that's not what's happened here. Although, in the case of the guy who shot up the church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, the Air Force could have and should have reported him because he shouldn't have been able to buy a gun because of his domestic violence background, his conviction. But even, having said that, I'm not sure, honestly, what's being done at this point to go back to the medical professionals who say, okay, you knew this guy was Looney Tunes and dangerous, and you didn't do anything to let people know.
Okay. Maybe we ought to be talking to our representatives about that then.
I think it's probably one more thing that ought to be on the table for us to talk about. That's a good point. I appreciate the call, sir. Thank you. Let's see. Where are we on time? Okay, let's do this. Joe, don't go anywhere. I'm going to get you when we come back because I think it's an interesting call. We're going to take a quick break here. If you'd like to join the conversation, just give me a holler. Call me at Tom Talk Gun. That's real easy to remember. Tom Talk Gun.
Crimson Trace announces Laser Guard Pro, designed for today's most popular concealed carry firearms, combining a red or green laser sight with 150 lumen light and featuring instinctive activation. Laser Guard Pro takes personal defense to the next level. Available now for the Smith & Wesson Shield. Visit CrimsonTrace.com to find a dealer near you and to learn more about why Crimson Trace is making laser sights standard equipment.
Whether you are a first-timer or seasoned shooter, Double Star has the guns, edged weapons, and parts you desire. Our products are made in America and held to the highest quality standards. No exceptions. Double Star and Ace Limited manufactures products people bet their lives on without hesitation. That awesome responsibility motivates the Double Star family, and it will proudly protect yours. When you're ready for the best, join our family at star15.com. That's star15.com.
Since 1937, Ducks Unlimited has led the charge on wetlands and waterfowl conservation. Wetlands reduce the effects of flooding and recharge our drinking water, but perhaps most importantly, they allow us to experience what makes the outdoors so great. Band together to rescue our wetlands.
If you carry a gun, you need training. Your concealed carry class was definitely not training. But time, money, and obligations keep you from spending days at a shooting school. The trusted folks at Gun Talk can help. Concealed Carry 1, our DVD featuring the VADA Group, covers what gun, what holster, how to carry, where to wear your gun, and much more. Visit shopguntalk.com. That's shopguntalk.com. Look, this really is life and death. Learn how to stay aware, how to get away, and how to fight if you must. At shopguntalk.com, you can get the 2 DVD set, including Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. No matter what gun you carry, this vital training info can save your life. Learn the draw, the stance, reloading, vital gear from Gun Talk. That's shopguntalk.com. shopguntalk.com.
The battlefield, where tyranny is laid to rest, where freedom comes of age, and where legends are conceived. Introducing the FN 509 handgun, a direct result of over 1 million rounds of testing, descended from over 125 years of the world's most battle-proven firearms on battlefields both foreign and domestic. The FN 509, a legend in the making. Learn more at fnamerica.com.
All right, welcome back. We have to do a welcome. Going to send out a big old Gun Talk welcome to WCJU 1450 AM. It's the Talk of Columbia in Columbia, Mississippi. They're starting to air Gun Talk live today. We appreciate that. WCJU 1450 AM, Columbia, Mississippi. That's pretty cool. Joe's in Watertown, South Dakota on 2. Hey, Joe, talking about Dick's Sporting Goods. What's your take?
Thank you. Childish move on Dick's Sporting Goods. That, to me, is akin to the kids on the playground and picking up their ball and go home because they don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh, yes. And also, I would like to ask, I would like to get you hooked up to the local talk radio here in my hometown. They run from 8:15 in the morning till 9:30 Monday through Friday at Central Standard Time. You're so eloquent at making our arguments, and do you do things like that, or would you consider that?
Sure, yeah, I do a lot of radio interviews. So if a station wants to interview me, we just set it up, do a phone call in, just the way we do with our guest here. So I do a fair number of those. A lot of them are with our affiliates, and so if there are any affiliates out there listening, if you want me to do that, just give me a holler. We'll do as much of that as we possibly can. But I will do it with stations that aren't affiliates, generally speaking. And, of course, hey, if you got a station somewhere and they're not running Gun Talk and you want to hear it there, give them a holler and ask them to start running it. They get it for free. Why not?
Yeah, that would be great. I'll try and get that going. One more comment, I guess it's a part question. Now, do I understand that it's all homicides committed by people with firearms 98% of them are in gun-free zones. That's a John Lott number, I believe.
No. I'm sure that's not a John Lott number. It may be that 98% of the mass shootings are in gun-free zones, but certainly it's not true that of all homicides, because a lot of them are just in cities, on the streets, and in homes, and domestic violence, and a lot of other things that happen. But I think it is correct that it's somewhere in the high 90s that the mass shootings generally all are taking place in gun-free zones. I think that's correct.
Okay, that could be my confusion on the mass shootings.
Right,
and that stands to reason. Very high number. Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tom.
Well, you bet. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. Don's in Bossier City, Louisiana, on one. Hello, Don.
Hey, Tom. I enjoy your program.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring up something that my grandfather experienced back in in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
He was an immigrant, came in early 1900, 1909, 1910 to United States from Italy. And then during World War II, when Mussolini threw in with Hitler, the American government started watching all the Italian Americans. They actually imprisoned some of them as well. But what they did to my grandfather, and I'm stating this, let me back up, a little nervous. The government can do anything they want to if they label someone,
Yes.
with a certain label. And
It is the first step in being able to do anything you want to a group. You have to label them somehow. It's what they did to the Japanese Americans, and in this case, you're talking about the Italians also. If you and they can, and the point is, of course, that's what they want to do. Some people want them to do to gun owners.
So let me get to my point.
Yeah.
They followed them. They imprisoned some. They didn't my grandfather, but they followed my grandfather, my mother, her brothers, my uncles, his sons were all in the military for the American fighting there, but they still followed them. Then they came to his house, took all his guns, what they considered knives that were weapons of war, and they took all of his shortwave radios. They eventually returned the radio, but they cut the shortwave out. It only gets AM. I actually still have that radio, but they never got his guns back. And they did that to many Italian Americans. He was a citizen, well over 30-something years. His sons were fighting, and they still did that.
That's exactly my point. And it's interesting I think we can take what you're talking about here, and when you're talking to somebody who thinks, we ought to be able to do something about guns, you can reduce the number of guns, et cetera, you say, well, look, let me explain how this happens. They slice off little groups. It's kind of like slicing off the Japanese or the Italians, and it's exactly the same thing. And if you tell that story to people, they're horrified that the American government did that to Italians or they did it to Japanese Americans. You say, yes, but that's exactly what you would like to have done to us, to the men and women who own firearms. You want to label us as undesirables so that you then can, because you can't have the kind of gun control they're calling for without having door-to-door searches, or at the very least without having warrantless searches. Because when you say you have to confiscate, you have to turn them in, somebody's got to come look. So, I'm facing that right now in Louisiana. By the way, if you're in Louisiana, let me tell you, we've got some awful, terrible bills coming up this Tuesday, and I'll be there in the legislature. I would just ask you to do this in every state, but also right here, because this is my home state. Contact your elected representative, your representative and your senators, and the message is very simple. And this is for everybody. The subject line of your email is vote no on gun control. And then the body is, I am asking you to vote no on every single gun control measure, no matter how it may seem to be reasonable to you. It is, in fact, an infringement of some sort on our rights, and it will do no good in terms of reducing crime. It's a feel-good measure. Subject line, vote no on gun control. Man, we're looking at the death of preemption and assault weapon bans. You know what? It's happening in your state, too. I guarantee you, right now, in your legislature, this is what's happening. righty, let's go talk to Sherry out of Arkansas. She's on line 4. Sherry, you're on Gun Talk.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hey there.
This is how important history is. I'm calling in about Dick's Sporting Goods because they forgot what happened to Kmart when, I can't think of her name, the spokesperson for Kmart, who come out and said, we got to do away with guns. The selling of the guns and ammo at Kmart. They soon went by the wayside. America speaks in that regard. And I don't care if the history is 250 years old or 25 years old. We need to remember it.
It's, the only thing that makes a difference is if they get the message from us, and if other companies get the message from us, that we will simply not do business with them. And here's what I propose. Just see if this makes sense to you. Every time you go to another store to buy a basketball or anything that Dick's might sell, make a copy of the receipt and email it to the CEO and say, this is money you didn't get today because of what you did. And it's one thing if you and I do it, Sherry, but if 10,000 people do it and then 100,000 people do it, it's kind of like, oh, holy cow, we have screwed up huge.
Well, I do anymore because I'm tired of wasting my breath or my time of sending a copy of the receipt in. I just don't spend my money there anymore. But CVS in my area, I live in the Midwest, and they have quit selling cigarettes, but they still sell alcohol. And what? One is worse than the other. It makes no sense to me.
The other thing that CVS has done is CVS pulled all the gun magazines out.
Oh, they did. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, they pulled all the gun magazines out, and I'm going to go verify that that's the case for my local CVS because that's where we have our prescription medicines. And if it's the case, I'm going to ask to speak to the manager, and I'm going to explain, look, I am transferring all of our prescriptions to another store, and this is why. I just want you to understand why we won't be stepping foot inside your store again. But if you're not talking to the manager, you're doing no good at all in these cases.
And sometimes that doesn't even help.
I understand.
Vote with your dollars, and they are foolish as business owners to think that they're going to alienate 1/3 of America and think that they're going to have a business, a bottom line.
Well, we'll see. But again, the only thing that makes a difference to them, if the business falls off, they may not know why. But if we let them know this is why, or if we go into other stores and say, I'm here because you have not taken a position against America's gun owners, and tell the manager that gets sent up the chain as well. It's not enough, I don't think it's enough to just stop shopping there. I think you have to stop shopping there and tell them why, and tell the places where you're going, I am here because you have not taken a political position on guns. I'm not asking you to support me. I'm just asking you to not be against me. It's as simple as that. I appreciate the call. That's the kind of activism we have to do every time when we see it. And you say, it's kind of a pain, and we have to ask the manager. We have to work. Yes. And we're always polite, and we're always cordial, and say, I just want you to understand that I'm not going to be shopping at your store anymore because of this. And I'm going to make it a point to talk to everyone I know and tell them that we're, what's going on, and ask them to not shop at your store. If we don't do that, they don't connect the two. When we connect it, I think it makes sense. Hey, if you're on hold right now, don't go anywhere. We're going to get you into the after show. If you haven't taken part in the after show or haven't even listened to it, shame on you. The after show is fun. Anywhere you can get podcasts, you can find the Gun Talk After Show. You can also get shows that you have missed. In the meantime, go out and do some shooting, get involved, show up, or give up. Simple as that.